embarrassing for all involved, easily the worst Scooby-Doo franchise. Wait, probably means of god awful acting. Fry from Futurama replaces Casey Kasem.
Yeah, it was Billy West.
A complete nobody voices Scooby-Doo badly.
How much voice work is there?
Horrendous, grainy animation that wasn't even good back when it originally released, let alone today when it's absolutely laughable.
Oh my gosh,
Wow,
grainy.
When was this review written?
2019.
Okay.
That was a 1-star review on IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I am your host, Andrew, joined as always by Ryan.
You two are Gorgonzolas. You're fired.
And Steven.
And I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for you meddling Andrews and your Ryan dog.
This week we are discussing the 1998 animated film Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
What a throwback.
Yeah, well, you know, because it is October by the time you're listening to this. It's September when we're recording.
Don't give away our secrets.
Why you part the curtain?
You gotta pull the mask off to reveal it's the old white guy all
there
along.
is no way that we record and release on the same day. I'm sorry.
To their knowledge, we record an hour before it releases that morning.
So
every
we're
time
recording this in 2004.
Way ahead of the curve.
We just created podcasts. It's wild.
It's crazy. But yeah, so... it is Halloween month, October, spooky month.
Spooky season.
Yeah, and so, you know, we have to do a whole plethora of different movies. And Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island has always been kind of one of those movies in the back of my mind that is like, oh, it's Halloween season or spooky season.
Yeah.
It's time to watch a Scooby-Doo movie.
As someone who doesn't indulge in the horror films.
Yeah.
And that's not just you, that also includes me.
Yeah.
It's a slam dunk of this is you know, put it next to Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, it fits in that checkbox.
Yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so before we get into it and all the details and stuff, what are your knee-jerk reactions coming out of this movie?
That's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's the Scooby-Doo movie.
It's a Scooby-Doo movie.
It does what Scooby-Doo does very well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about the complaints about the grainy animation.
Yeah,
but this is one of those, you know, polished, more polished than the classic. You know what I mean?
Well,
you know what I mean? It's all relative.
I was gonna let you finish.
It's more polished than the classic Scooby-Doo that I grew up on.
The 60s cartoon.
It doesn't have Scrappy-Doo in it, so we're already way ahead of the curve.
Oh man, there's tons of trivia for this.
I bet. I
want Scrappy-Doo. I want
You
hush.
I actually cut off the 1-star review a little bit early. The last section
How
is,
dare you.
Even the animation quality from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You from 30 years ago is somehow better than this.
Okay.
Which is completely wrong.
So is that the...
That's the 90s cartoon,
Is that when they're
right?
kids, like when they're like small kids?
No, it says from 30 years earlier. So he's talking about the original.
Oh, he's saying from 30 years before when the movie came out, not when the review was done.
Correct.
Yeah,
I was trying to time it to when the
Sorry,
review
it
was
hasn't
done.
been 30 years since 1998, Stephen.
It's getting close.
It's getting close.
Andrew.
I was talking from 2019 going back to the, I think it was mid-90s when they were like...
It was the early 90s.
No,
they were like
he was talking...
named
That's it.
Scooby-Doo.
He was talking from 1998 time, 30 years prior to that, which was 1968.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... I like this movie. It's definitely one of those where it's a Scooby-Doo movie. You know what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
But at the same time, it's fun. It has a really nice soundtrack to it. I mean, there's only like 4 songs, but
sure.
It has a...
Yeah, but they're bangers. Let's be honest. Like, Terror Time?
For a 1998 straight-to-DVD movie.
Right.
It did, or VHS at this time. It did really good.
Also, what was the other one from that same era where you had it was the girl band?
Oh, so that's the Cursed something or other. So basically this movie started the basically like 4 films,
like a trend,
like a wave of them.
Yeah, because this was so popular back then. Okay, so the Mystery Gang reunite and visit Moonscar Island, a remote island with a dark secret. Daphne wants more than just a villain in a costume, and they get more than what they expected. Which, I mean,
strong synopsis. I mean,
Okay.
I think even in like the marketing materials, it was saying back then, this time the ghosts are real. Or
It
something
was,
like
yeah,
that.
I
that
feel like
was
I
one of
remember
the-
something about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that I've seen people talk about with this film is they are upset that the ghosts were real this time and not just like someone in a mask.
Right.
Which I find very interesting because this
That's
is
fascinating.
Because everyone was like, "Oh, I can't believe they made the ghost real this time." There were multiple other times in the Scooby-Doo franchise that they have
Right.
gone against actual
But
supernatural
I mean,
things.
they had the whole with the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
And then you had the whole series. Like they worked with like the Addams Family and stuff. You
Yeah.
know, like the. What do you mean? This is the time they had to make everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you haven't caught up, maybe if you went from the early, like
You
the
only
60s
watched the 60s
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo to this.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah. So there's this was straight to VHS, and so there's no like box office numbers or anything
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
This was animated by a Japanese studio called Mook at the time.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I had no
And-
idea where the animation.
So
came from.
Hanna-Barbera licensed it out to them?
Yes.
Or who owned Scooby-Doo at the time? It was Hanna-Barbera, but
so this was WB's first animation.
Got it.
That they did for Scooby-Doo.
Okay, so
because they just
had
acquired
purchased-
Hanna-Barbera
Yes.
right before 98.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't under Hanna-Barbera. Like, it's really interesting. There's a whole...
Yeah.
I actually don't have that specific trivia in here, but basically, like, they are Hanna-Barbera are credited for this film, even though they didn't have anything to do with it.
Even though it was
Right.
like basically ghost written or whatever.
Pretty
or
much,
ghost
yeah.
animated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably like a rights thing.
It
There
could have
was
been,
a lot
yeah.
of weirdness with
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm curious, like, what you guys think. This has been a movie that I've watched since it basically came out. And I remember, like, being 12 at the time when it came out. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's just
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo, but a little bit more, I'll say, quotation marks, adult for what a Scooby-Doo film could be.
Well,
Sure.
It's one of those interesting looks at Scooby-Doo of, as you become more modern, the practicality of who they were and what they did, in the 60s shows. And like the concept of, hey, yeah, they're all working regular jobs because like that's not a job. That's not a career,
Right, yeah. You
Yeah.
make no income off of this.
No.
Well, and with how much Scooby-Doo and Scrappy eat.
Shaggy.
Or Shaggy.
And Scrappy
And
Doo.
Scrappy. And
yeah.
Scrappy. but Shaggy
Hashtag
in
justice
this
for
case.
Scrappy. Don't forget Scrappy. No, this is the first time I've seen this movie all the way through.
Really?
I have seen, like, I'm sure pieces of
Bits
it
and pieces over the years.
on cable throughout the years. But again, 98, I was not watching cartoons. I sure wouldn't have watched a straight to VHS Scooby-Doo movie.
Man, so
So
I was...
this was on tons of
this was on TV like all the time.
Yeah, for
Right.
Cartoon Network they had
Yeah.
basically like October Spooky Month, which
Yeah.
was just movie marathons all month.
and like they would
I
just
know-
slam some Scooby-Doo down.
After watching it, I know I've seen pieces of this
Yeah.
movie before, but I've never sat down and watched from start to finish the movie until this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've watched basically every Scooby-Doo thing except the Velma show. Like that's
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
That's probably
I
the
think-
only thing I haven't seen, at least in some part.
For me, it's all the Scooby-Doo movies I haven't seen. So I saw...
There's a ton of movies.
a bunch
There
of
are.
movies.
I watched the obviously the '60s cartoon was on in reruns all the time
of course,
when I was
yeah.
a kid, and then the ones with Scrappy Doo, and then a pup named Scooby Doo. I watched a lot of that. My brother was way into that more than me.
Yeah,
He's 6 years younger.
Pup
than
named
me.
Scooby-Doo was always one of those where like that was like on the weird times during the
was.
day,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, there's
Yeah.
nothing else on.
I know, you're like, well, it's this or no cartoon, so
Yeah.
I guess I'll watch a pup named Scooby Doo, Dooby Doo. But the movies, like when they started this, like in '98, I guess this is the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like already like out of the watching Scooby Doo
Yeah.
realm, and so I missed a lot of the straight, like the one with the girls.
Yeah,
that sing
the
song.
Hex Girls is the,
Yeah,
the
that's-
band.
that's
yeah.
the
Totally
band,
missed
yeah.
that. I even missed like the Sarah Michelle Gellar live action Scooby Doo's.
what?
I've
the,
seen
the first one's really fun.
The first one's actually pretty fun.
I feel like I've seen part of the first one again, just on cable, like throughout the years.
And a lot
like,
of it too,
in
you kind of have
pieces.
to accept the camp that is Scooby-Doo, and
Right.
like, that doesn't necessarily always wear well or age well, depending on what era you're looking at it or how old you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, so even the most latest one, Scoob, I think, was the movie that came out like I'll say 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
At some
it
point,
was
yeah.
it was good. I actually enjoyed it.
and it was all CG.
That was all
CG,
CG.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, yeah, this is the first time I've seen this all the way through.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. It was a Scooby Doo movie, like I did like the twist of the ghosts are real.
Well, especially,
you know.
kind of the inherent attitudes within the gang that they're jaded and there's like, we always know it's just some old dude in a mask.
Well, and you do get a lot of like fun little like jokes and poking fun at how they have been in like an actual show
throughout,
desensitized to it.
Yeah. There's like, well, clearly there's got to be some wires, there's some holographic in it, you know.
It's always a projection.
Well, and I did like that they said it in New Orleans. I wasn't expecting that. And so like having been to New Orleans, I was like, oh, they're eating beignets.
Iconic.
Hey, I've seen the French Quarter. That's it, you know.
Well, I
iconic. Not enough drunk people, you know, taking a leak in the gutter, but you know.
Where's all the homeless people asking you where you got your shoes?
So I do like that Shaggy and Scooby get addicted to the hot peppers. And they do their own like little mini hot pepper challenges throughout which I always really like because I mean like if you go down to like New Orleans or like really any kind of like southern state like that, like the peppers are always going to be really dang hot.
They are, they're wild.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Scooby-Doo's eating a lot of crawfish in this movie because obviously they're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And my wife looked over and she goes, I'm sorry, is Scooby-Doo machine gun shooting crawfish out of his mouth? And I go, yeah, what's the problem? I'm confused.
It's just part of it.
What's the issue? She didn't know it was in New Orleans. So she was like very like, she just kind of glanced over. I was like, why is he spitting crawfish like a machine gun? I'm like, keep up, nerd. It's like typical Scooby stuff.
Well, I think this movie does a really good job at keeping with like a lot of the traditions that the original show had.
Yeah, for sure.
And it does a good job at kind of intertwining a lot of just like the Looney Tunes zaniness that obviously Shaggy and Scooby go through. And it does actually a pretty good job at keeping like a pretty concise plot going through that does have some pretty decent twists here and there. And red herrings, what normally comes with like a mystery style.
Yeah, I mean, like as an adult, you can see a lot of this stuff coming, but like compared to the average Scooby-Doo, you know, mystery team from like the 60s, it's like a step up.
Way more complex here. Yeah, there's far more twists.
I do think that like the island and New Orleans setting kind of gives it a not Halloween vibe for me though. Like it doesn't feel like
it doesn't feel like Halloween.
Well, it's not, you don't have Frankenstein or Dracula. You don't have like a classic quote unquote monster.
There's no castle really. That's it's true, like a plantation home surrounded by alligators.
This is the castle of America here. Right?
So I like that it gives it a different vibe, but yeah, it kind of like. I think going into it, just knowing the name of it and not remembering that I'd seen pieces of it. Because again, when I saw pieces of this, I would not have known which Scooby-Doo movie it was because it'd be in between commercial breaks. I'd be like, Scooby's doing something. You know?
Well, that and I think, let me find the poster real quick.
The poster has a castle on it.
So the
and
poster,
ghouls and
the poster
ghosts.
and the like when you go to play it on the DVD and stuff, it all has that castle with the the iconic moon behind it, which is where they start in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
So like they start you again. It's the whole twist on it, but it is a little bit misleading in terms of like the presentation of this is a classic Scooby adventure. We're gonna fight a swamp monster in a castle. And then it's just this is, and it was always like the thing with Scooby-Doo is it was always this is an abandoned whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a monster there now because they're trying to prevent people from developing it so they can sell it off because it's actually, has an old mine that has gold in it or whatever, right? And it's like, no, this is just a plantation and people just live here and like they've got a gardener and it's just normal. Everybody knows these people. It's such a flip from a lot of the normal scenarios where it's like, nobody goes up on that hill over there,
It misses that vibe, but overall I liked it. Again, it's a Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
So it didn't like change my life.
No, of course. Well, I mean, I guess
I had a lot of fun watching it.
It's meant to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this to people that want to watch a spooky film during spooky season?
For sure. And I say this again, having not watched the other Scooby-Doo straight to VHS movies. This is definitely the best one. If this is the best one, then I would absolutely recommend this first over
this
other
one
stuff.
Or again, whatever has the Hex Girls. I cannot remember the name of that movie.
I can find it.
But
either way,
those are the two recommendations. Yeah.
But I think as a Scooby-Doo movie, this executes really well, and it was really fun to watch. There's a couple of plot points that I'm like, what? Which we can get to after the spoiler wall. But like I was entertained.
Yeah, but it's got that feel of it. You can kind of feel where some of the later stuff, kind of like with the Velma, where they're like, we're going to do a twist on this, a more modern, like this has that feel to it, but it's still very true to Scooby-Doo and all the tropes that come along with that.
For sure.
You hear the screeching of an owl, you hear the wind begin.
If you ever want to get the gang back together and relive the good old times, boy, have we got a place for you. SpoilersIntendedPodcast.com. You can go there and check out all of our previous content.
So we have a Discord that you can check out there. We have links on the website, and we love to hang out, talk about what food we're eating.
Yeah.
If we're, going to be Shaggy and Scooby doing the Ghost Pepper Challenge or whatever. And it's a good place to hang out.
Yeah, it's great. And we also have a Facebook and Instagram account. We'd love for you to follow us on social. We post, what we're going to be reviewing coming up and just some behind the scenes stuff. It's a lot of fun. Give us a follow.
The screaming's gonna start. Here comes the really scary part. 'Cause it's terror.
I love this song.
We can just keep that playing, man. I'm actually unironically love this
Who
song.
is that I caught singing right there? Was it Andrew or Steve?
That's me.
Both. Okay, so trivia time. So we're past the spoiler wall. If you haven't seen this movie and you don't want to be spoiled,
It's time for the scary stuff to start.
What are we
it's
doing
right there
here?
in the song. It's time for the scary stuff to start,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this film is dedicated to Don Messick, who was the original voice of Scooby-Doo, who passed away right before recording started for this movie.
Okay.
Didn't know
That is
that. Okay.
why there's a different voice actor for Scooby-Doo, because he was planned on doing it, but he
Right.
passed away beforehand.
That's
Gotcha.
sad.
Yeah. This is... okay, I kid you not. There's a ton of trivia,
ton
for,
of
this.
trivia for this.
It's kind of wild, because whenever we're doing producing shows and stuff, and we're doing a movie or TV show, and I'm like, oh, there's going to be a ton of trivia for this.
every time
it's
that
been
you-
out forever, and
Yeah,
there's nothing.
Every time
yeah.
that you think, boy, this is going to be just covered up in trivia, it's like you get like 4 things. Like, all right, time to start searching the internet, and
Yeah.
it's like nothing. There's nothing here. Why? How?
Well, so then when I was producing this episode for Scooby-Doo, I was like, oh, there's probably gonna be like 2 things, and there's
Right.
like pages of
Yeah.
pages.
So I gotta
of
say,
stuff.
man, the Scoob fans, they go hard.
The Scoob fans go hard.
So Velma becoming a bookstore owner following the dissolution of Mystery Inc. is a reference to Ray Stantz owning a bookstore following the dissolution of the Ghostbusters.
It had a very
Yes.
Ghostbusters-y
Yeah.
vibe, yeah.
Yeah, the voice recording sessions were the last to be done at Hanna-Barbera Studios before it was permanently closed down in 1997 of December.
Rip.
This was actually nominated for an Annie in Outstanding Animation Home Video Production and for an MPSC Golden Reel for sound editing.
An MPSC Golden Reel?
You've never heard that one before.
Never heard
All right,
that one before.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Let's see. Notably, Fred, I found this one really funny. Fred is seen eating and drinking like a normal human being, probably more than he ever did in the almost 30-year history of the series.
Did they never show him eat or drink?
I guess not.
I guess
That's
they
wild.
don't. Really, you could say that about Velma or Daphne too, because it's
really
really just
just-
Scooby and Shaggy that
Yeah.
just eat on screen. That's bizarre.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's weird to think about. I don't like it.
so there
I don't
was.
like it.
This was role reversal. Daphne being a believer and Fred being the skeptic is a reversal from Pup Named Scooby-Doo. That's pretty obvious because she was all in for ghosts and stuff compared to what it normally is.
Yeah.
This is also the first time Scooby-Doo shows any aggression towards another animal.
Yeah, it always trips me out when they're like, "Oh, he doesn't like cats." I'm like, "Since when?"
Yeah, he's always been nice to
thank you.
cats.
Because I was sitting there, watching it, going like, "Man, I know it's been a long time since I watched."
No, that was
the
never
cartoons.
a character trait that he
Yeah,
had.
no.
So I had this moment because they treat it in this movie honestly like it's something that's a known
It's just
quantity,
normal. Like this
Yeah.
would be
like it's known. And so I had this moment where I was like, I guess I did miss some Scooby-Doo somewhere
No,
in
I
there.
don't think he's
Maybe
ever
that's,
reacted to cats in anything that I can remember.
Yeah. I don't think he, so I felt weird about it. I was like, I don't understand this, but okay, I guess it's part of the plot.
It feels a little forced, honestly.
Yeah.
When
It
comes
does,
up,
yeah. Well, it feels kind of tired out too when you're watching it. You're like, okay, come on.
they keep kind of throwing
this
it
is
up
a
there like
sentient
it's-
dog. Like
Yeah.
he should know.
This is an eldritch horror. Excuse me.
Eldritch horror.
Have y'all seen that video?
Which one?
So it's a parody video from it's like uses kind of like the Velma TV show animes or like clips from it. But it's I don't know how much y'all know about that TV show at all.
I'm not
Just
very
a little
familiar.
bit.
So
about it, yeah.
one of the big things that pops up is Scooby-Doo's not in it.
Yeah.
Right.
And this has him being in it. So it's a parody, I think done by a group called like Avocado. I'll have to look it up, I'll put the link in there.
Okay.
But it ties all the franchises together.
Oh, really?
Scooby-Doo is like this eldritch god who keeps remaking the world to have these friends and they go on adventures, but Velma always remembers and questions it, and then he has to kill them all, and then it remakes them, and now it's pup named Scooby-Doo instead of the classic.
Yeah.
And then she remembers he's a killer. Now it's this version.
Yeah.
So it like justifies all the different animation
That's
styles.
funny.
Wow, that's wild.
Anyways, yeah, sorry.
So this is the last bit of trivia. So this film marks the first time that someone besides Casey Kasem voices Shaggy. The reason being,
This is so stupid. This is the stupidest
it's
reason.
really dumb.
Honestly, I saw this and it's like I think I've lost all respect for this man.
Kasem refused to provide the voice of Shaggy if he would not be vegetarian like himself.
Huh?
Right? So Casey.
But then later, did he do the voice again?
No.
So this was he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but Shaggy previously ate meat all the time.
So maybe Casey Kasem became a vegetarian
he
after.
recently became like a vegan or
Okay.
vegetarian, and as all like vegans or whatever do, they won't stop telling you that they are.
It's just
So
like
he's my character
Scientology.
has to, like my character or CrossFit. My character has to be this.
All the best cults: vegetarianism, Scientology, CrossFit.
but yeah, I read this and I was like, what?
Right. No, I think
So when I fired it up and I heard him talk, I love Billy West. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan of Fry, Ren and Stimpy, like all the Honey Nut Cheerios.
He saw all
Everybody
kinds of
he's
He
done.
was big around that time.
Right. Everybody Billy West has ever done. And I go, that's Billy West. Where's Casey Kasem? Because
Yeah.
I was like, this is 98. I was like,
Yeah.
he would have
He's
been
alive,
alive. Yeah. And so Scooby's voice, it took me a little while to recognize it was different. And I didn't question that necessarily.
He
I-
still did a good job.
he did, yeah.
it's fine. I mean,
And again, it's Scooby-Doo because it's so disguised that, like,
Yeah.
But with Casey Kasem, I wondered what the deal was, and this is ridiculous to find out.
for I don't know why my wife, sitting on the couch while we were watching that, she just decided she's gonna look. She's like, "Why is Casey Kasem?" She looked up, she read it out to me. I was like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
So
I'd go break a leg or go be hospitalized or have a better excuse.
Yeah, I was tripping out too when I looked at the cast or when I was watching the credits, and Adrienne Barbeau plays Simone Lenore, and I was like, Adrienne Barbeau, y'all got Adrienne Barbeau in this?
Yeah,
They have-
and you got Mark
They
Hamill
got
in
Mark
here.
Hamill,
Yeah.
Jim Cummings,
As what's his name? Snakebite Scruggs.
Scruggs, yeah. The swamp guy.
Every time he's like tourist, I'm like, Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah. When Jim Cummings started talking, I was like, hey, there he is.
There he is.
All right. So, obviously you're past spoiler wall. What's your, I'm trying to think, like, because, I mean, there are some pretty decent, like, I'll say twists for what a Scooby-Doo kind of, like, movie would be. But I think I still just love the general, like, comedy that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy bring to it. Just because, like, I really do enjoy just, like, the bumbling into just solutions.
Yeah.
Even though it's complete luck and just totally just
I mean, they
absurd.
have some of the greatest plot armor in the history of plot armor. I mean,
gosh,
so I think for me, it's the twist on top of the twist, where it's
Yeah.
like ghosts and monsters are real. Oh wow, what a big revelation! These ghosts and monsters are good guys.
Yeah.
They're actually trying to help you from the other ones that are the actual problem. Like, I like that extra layer to it.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun too because, obviously up until this point, you're just like, oh, zombies, those are clearly the bad guys here.
Yeah, we're on
Right, yeah.
Zombie Island. Duh.
Yeah, it the way it unfolds is like a weird pace at first because like you have the setup, where they're like, we see them going like a little. Well, first you get the gang back together, then you have like the montage of them
Of it just being the same old,
being the
Yeah.
same old, and then like they meet Lena or whatever.
I want to know the universe that they live in to where, like, literally every bad guy is trying to steal money dressed up as a monster.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, they saw it on TV. How could it not work?
Yeah.
it just makes sense. You scare them away,
And like at this point, as far as the people who were going to do that knew, the gang and the meddling dog, they were all retired.
Yeah.
And then Doc got it. I
Finally.
finally was going to run my scam.
my
and these-
grift will work.
It's not even, they're not even kids anymore. They're adults. Don't you have jobs?
Yeah.
I do love the comedy bit of Scooby being a customs
agent
dog for like contraband food. I was like, oh, this actually works really well.
A great job role for them, and like Shaggy says, jackpot. Yeah.
At first, they're walking around the airport, and I'm like, so what are they doing? And then like when he starts sniffing out, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This tracks perfectly.
This is well set up. Yeah.
I think they did a really good job at kind of just like showing like natural progressions of what these characters would do, in a real world setting where they actually had to get a job.
Like Velma's not out there being a skydiving instructor. You know what? Like, geez, this is a bookstore that sells like mysteries and what dead on.
And even Fred being a producer felt like because he's probably the one who organized a lot of their mysteries to begin with.
He was important to the gang because
he could drive.
He could both own and operate a vehicle.
So this is also the first time in the Scooby-Doo franchise where
somebody else drives it.
Well, but then also there was
I actually don't know.
Quit trying to jump ahead.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Let him finish his sentence.
Where there was any kind of hint that there was a romantic tension between him and Daphne.
Oh, okay.
Well, because you have Lena going around and Daphne doesn't appreciate it.
Yeah. Which, like this has been a while since I've seen this movie. I remember like seeing The Gardener, and I was like, I vaguely feel that one, that he's an FBI agent, but then two, that him and Velma have a thing. And then like as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, well, they're not really steering it towards that.
It just kind of happens at the end.
It just kind of happens like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. It's like, I want to be a mystery writer. And she's like, I own a mystery bookstore. It's like, I'm like, are we about to see something sexual happen right here? Ease up, movie. It's for children.
So one of my passing observations.
I was gonna say, so you like it's like this is like one of the first times they've had romantic tension.
Yeah.
So the Bravo Doobie-Doo episode, which came out before this movie.
Bravo Doobie-Doo.
It's a Johnny Bravo Scooby-Doo crossover.
Oh, got it. Yeah,
and like they're like, all right, gang, let's split up. And Daphne tries to split up with Johnny, and Fred's like, Daphne, and then they go off on their own. So yeah, that's all I could think of when you were saying that.
Okay. I thought you meant like on the network Bravo there was something. I was like, what?
I was like, wow. That brings
look out, man.
Have you not seen that?
I have, yeah.
Oh, because it has the amazing moment where Velma and Johnny both lose their glasses. She's like, my glasses. I can't be seen with my glasses. It's like, my glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses,
man. Yeah.
I actually really like Johnny Bravo. That was like one of my
Johnny Bravo rules.
So it's one of these things where like, my wife and I were talking about shows and stuff that her parents wouldn't let her watch or that she was too young for or whatever. She's like, yeah, my mom never wanted us watching Johnny Bravo.
I mean,
Johnny Bravo?
I watched it, in college. I was like, I kind of understood where she's coming from. I was like, no, it's parody of it.
Yeah.
But boy, is it ever incredibly misogynistic.
Oh yes,
it's ridiculous.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He's Johnny Bravo.
Right. Yeah.
So one of my passing notices as I was watching this movie from like, I'll say an adult's perspective.
Yeah.
Is the whole crew is a complete menace to society.
They really are.
Yeah.
They damage so much
Everything.
property, and no one pays anybody.
Dude, they just start ripping that wall down in the kitchen.
I was like, Velma, hey, ease up. And they come in there like, hey, what'd you do to our kitchen?
Which, I mean, like, whenever you know that, both Lena and, what's her face?
Miss Simone?
Yeah.
Simone LeBois or something.
Yeah, because both of them are the actual bad guys, and they're just trying to keep them there. I understand why, they're tolerant of them destroying the home.
Yeah, because it's not like you destroyed my 300-year-old planet. Go home, get out.
If someone did that in my house, I'd be like, get out of here.
Yeah, this dog keeps chasing my cats, but I don't throw them out. Why don't you throw them out?
And it makes sense at the end of the film, but halfway through, if you don't remember that they're the bad guys, I'm like, I vaguely feel that Lena's the bad guy, but I don't remember the girl being the Simone.
Again, first time viewing, I had multiple times where I was like, kick these people out. Like, what are you doing?
It's like, do you act like this everywhere you go? Because you guys have a lot of property damage suits.
Something that surprised me about just the overall plot was how Mark Hamill, Snakebite Scruggs, right, is introduced early. We got the pig.
Does basically nothing.
And then it does basically nothing the rest of the movie. And then at the end, there's like a little gag with him. I kept waiting for him to save the day. Where Jacques turns out to be like a cat person.
A bad guy, yeah.
He's a werecat. They're cat people. And I was like, this dude
This
that
is
was
where
set
he
up to
can
be
come
the
in,
villain
yeah.
earlier is going to swoop in and actually save everybody. This pig's going to save Scooby, or you know.
Yeah.
So and they never do it, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
it
So why is
feels-
he here?
It feels like a missed opportunity. Like, I get where they did it, where they kind of seeded the red herrings early.
Yeah.
Where like they introduced you to Lena, they introduced you to Jacques, they introduced you to Scruggs, and they introduced you to the gardener. Like, they kind of seeded the field of, hey, we've got a whole bunch of people who are maybe
Possible
suspicious.
suspects,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it would have been neat at the end to have
Have him like come in and
come in and like clear off one of like Jacques off of Shaggy.
Yeah.
Like one of the,
Something.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, because the biggest crux is the only reason why they win is because Lena and Simone just didn't make voodoo dolls of
They're
Scooby and
like, those
Shaggy
people
because
are
they're like
so
they're just too
stupid.
stupid.
Look how dumb they are. There's no reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I do like that they at least spell it out. And also, like, if I were Lena or somebody, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty fair. These people are idiots. Like,
Let's
I
not
know
waste the wax. We
Yeah,
got candles to make. Come on.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, right? Like I think the overall plot makes sense. It tracks
Yeah.
for like any kind of a Scooby-Doo mystery. You get out to the island and like Fred having a crush on Lena, and then like Daphne kind of acting like she likes
The gardener.
Bo,
yeah.
Bo, I think. Yeah, is like, okay, cool. Because again, we're dipping into this. I want to say like the Brady Bunch movie had come out like probably right before this, and they kind of play with the idea of Marcia and Greg actually liking each other in that movie. I remember that was like in the 90s. It was one of my first entries into like, oh, whoa, hold on. These characters that, when you were a
Yeah.
kid, you never questioned might have feelings for each other. Whoa, wait a minute. Because
Yeah.
like Scooby-Doo, when I was growing up, I was never like, oh, Fred and Daphne are boyfriend, girlfriend. It was just, they were characters on a show.
Wait, really? You never questioned? I always was just like,
I mean, I don't think I thought that hard about Scooby-Doo, to be honest. I didn't like get that deep. And now Popeye, I was really, but no, yeah. So like, I think having that as an interesting angle, right?
Yeah.
And again, having it be actual ghosts, having it be voodoo priestesses that worship a cat god was another step too far. That I was like, oh, okay, all right, we're getting into this.
Also, like, it's really, I don't, how do I describe, like, kind of almost nuanced, right? Where like they
Yeah.
started out as the innocent colonists on the island, and then the pirates showed up and killed all of their
which is
fellow people.
very dark.
Freaking
for-
did.
I think it's.
Feed
I
him
think
to
it
the
was like
gators.
the first time that like Scooby-Doo shows people dying on screen.
Oh, probably. Well, they
'Cause
weren't
the-
on screen death.
It's implied though.
It is
I mean,
implied.
we watched
They go into the
Simone
swamp.
and Lena get turned into dust.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they get they do the Raiders of the Lost Ark or no Last
Dude, but-
Crusade full aging maneuver.
Yeah, actually that is fair
yeah.
because so
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they also
There-
it's also metal. We have pirates with swords, forcing people into the water, and they send the gators to go get them.
So I
Yeah.
think because it is a straight to movie or straight to VHS release, it doesn't follow the same standards
they can
as
get a-
broadcast
they
TV
can
where
get
they
away with
can have
stuff.
on-screen
Yeah.
death.
The following is too hot for TV.
Well, so like the on-screen death is actually like really like a big thing for animated shows.
well, that's like
Yeah.
an instant leap up to like PG-13.
Why 17?
Yeah,
or whatever,
like, it jumps you up well and truly.
it does.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting that's the first time they did that. But yeah, like I thought again, Zombie Island. I'm like, all right, let's see these zombies. We're in New Orleans, voodoo, and then when they start to get into like the cat stuff, I was like, okay, didn't see this coming. All right, like interesting.
Like Ryan Johnson was sitting at home taking notes. Subversion of expectations.
Yes. But I was like, oh, okay. So like I thought being a Scooby-Doo movie, like it was gonna be Snakebite Scruggs and Bo, and like you're gonna have multiple people that you suspect.
Yeah, 'cause-
who's behind the zombies, and then it turns out it's like, oh no, they're good. He's the gardener and FBI agent. Snakebite's just out here trying to catch this catfish.
He's just a redneck being a redneck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
These ladies worship a voodoo cat god, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. And he's a werecat, when Jacques pops up.
That's a good little twist right at the end though, because you think
Yeah.
that they're the only two bad guys at that point.
yeah, like
Right.
and
then-
Scooby and Shaggy are running for help. Oh, the ferryman's here. Perfect.
Yeah, and then Jacques shows up, and you're like, "Oh, this is an actual problem now."
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I really like about the movie, and we can kind of wrap this up because I mean it's a Scooby-Doo movie. There's not too much to talk about.
I mean, I'll say the animation is
It is good.
Good.
It's solid.
There's actually like two really nice cuts whenever Lena and Simone are actually changing into the werecats
sure.
or whatever. Where I'm like, ooh, yeah, like it's like their clothes are kind of like
There's
fluttering when they're
The scene when Velma, Daphne, and Fred are floating first.
Oh yeah,
The first time, or like, yeah,
the
I think
second time.
the second time.
Yeah, because
dolled
Velma's
up.
already been levitated
Yeah.
once. Yeah,
But like every time, I feel like the only complaint I would have with the animation is like there are moments where it definitely ramps up, where it's like they're
Yeah.
floating and you're like, oh man, their individual clothing is like
they're going hard on
undulating,
this,
and
yeah.
then they land back down and it's again just the mouth moving, so
Oh,
it kind of
yeah.
like
Yeah,
switches
they become
gears.
very static. Like save budget,
at
stand
the end
still.
of the day,
Yeah.
this is still a straight to
It's still
VHS movie.
It definitely like moments of it feel like a Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
movie would look in the 90s, and then it punches up.
Well,
It kinda
I
comes
feel
back
like
down.
it's one of those things where it never comes down below what you would expect for quality. If you just said, "Oh, Scooby-Doo," and your knowledge is the '60s TV show, there's never a moment
Right.
where it like somehow dips below that quality.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? Like
No.
like the backgrounds have that same feel to them. Of this is obviously a matte background or whatever else, but it has the classic feel to it. And then Fred standing stock still talking just feels natural for Fred,
Right,
Because
yeah.
it's just what Fred does.
And then the music's really good too.
The music's
Oh, the
great.
music's great.
Yeah, Terror Time is one of those where like whenever you listen to like I'll say like Spotify playlist for like Halloween or whatever, it's
It's
definitely
got
gonna
to
be on there.
It's
Yeah.
got to be on there.
Yeah.
So would you rewatch this?
Yeah, I think so.
Like
I mean,
when it comes around spooky season?
I'm gonna be watching this again, like in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
because
probably.
just during this and like the Walter and Gromit, the Were Rabbit.
Yeah.
and there's a
Wallace and
couple-
Gromit.
Walter.
Walter and Gromit.
which
Woof.
universe are you from, Steve?
the one that's linchpinned by.
By Walter and Gromit. Yeah, I'd probably rewatch it. I wouldn't go out of my way. I don't have the nostalgia for this
No,
like
yeah,
you guys, just because I didn't ever
Yeah.
watch it all the way through. But like, this is a solid movie. I would probably watch this not around Halloween time because again, it doesn't really have Halloween vibes to me.
If you're going down to
Connotations,
New
yeah.
Orleans, you have to watch this.
Yeah, if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to New Orleans, I'm gonna
Get
put
some
this
beignets.
on the whole time. I'm gonna eat
Just
my
on
beignet,
repeat.
put this on my tablet, just watch it in the French Quarter.
Just walk around.
This
down-
is your culture, and I'll point to like the tablet.
Walk down to the French Quarter with a boombox blasting Terror Time.
Yeah, terror. Yeah.
All right. So that, as we're wrapping up or
Yeah.
whatever, we still have to talk about our Patreon.
Yes, for just $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus content, which includes bonus episodes. They're a different format than what we normally do. We do tier rankings, we fight presidents, we talk to ChatGPT about various subjects. We do a lot of fun stuff over there.
Some game show related stuff,
We
all
have
kinds
game
of
shows,
goofy things.
intros to anime, all sorts of things over there. It also is the most direct way for you to support us. Like, your money goes a long way. We love all of our patrons. They're very near and dear to our hearts, and they're
Very
very
attractive.
They're
attractive. Just sexual
discerning,
dynamos. Every one of them.
Sexual tyrannosauruses. Come
Yes.
on, man, get it right.
I was
You should
doing a
say
different thing, but you did your
velociraptors.
thing too.
They can even open doors.
They can even open doors. To my knowledge, they can all open doors.
Lever or knob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Very,
advanced.
very talented.
Yes. But yes, we appreciate it. If you don't support us already, please think about it. It's just $1. Come on, man. It's $1.
Yeah. That's like the cost of
Alright.
one beignet.
Exactly.
As always, follow us on social. Leave us a review wherever you're listening now. Share us with a friend. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Until next time.
Until next time.
Who are you?
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Steven.
And every spoiler was intended.
There it is.